Alright, welcome everybody to Season 1, Episode 7 of my Let's Play series. It's been a while since I've updated. So a couple things that I've changed since last online. I've converted the power network. I realized that on server restart, the thermal expansion dynamos don't reconnect to Mine Factory Reloaded machines properly anymore. So now this harvester I've got hooked up to 3 solar panels. During the day it collects in the sun, powers the harvester which collects all the sugar, and outputs the sugar cane into this same one as the previous harvester. So we've got 2 sugarcane farms which are still harvesting, but the sludge actually comes into this tank. And this harvester, pretty interesting, runs off of a reactant dynamo that is being fed sugar that gets sludge from itself as well as the farm above. It's kind of interesting. So I did a little bit of math, and what happens is whenever a harvester harvests, it produces 10 millibuckets of sludge. 10 millibuckets of sludge, it turns out, produces 160 RF when it's fed through a reactant dynamo. Okay, I know there's a bunch of math and it's hard to say it when it's verbal, but basically a single harvest operation grabs the sugar, produces 10 sludge, which can be converted into 160 RF. That 160 RF can then be fed directly back into the harvester because it's 240 RF per harvest operation. So you're paying for 66% of the harvest operation just by using a reactant dynamo with the sludge from itself. So what we're being super efficient here, right? We're recovering a lot of the energy. The harvester is practically paying for itself. We have solar energy coming in producing sludge, and then we have a harvester harvesting producing sludge. And that sludge is completely paying for the harvester. In addition, you harvest the sugar. That sugar is worth 16,000 RF. And that sugar gets pumped right back in. So this is ridiculously efficient. Basically, you've got 3 solar panels that are powering 2 harvesters and generating a massive surplus of sugar. I've got a single solar panel powering this harvester, and a single solar panel powering the planter that is doing my barley. And I use the barley for, wheat or whatever. Honestly, I'm after the barley seed the most because I've been crushing the seed into seed oil. So the other thing I've been up to since my last Let's Play is this kind of interesting setup here. I've got a railcraft tank. So I did a little bit of calculation on railcraft tanks in terms of iron efficiency. My friend FSX Yoda and I were discussing, is it better to use steel drums? So in case you're wondering, I've got steel drums holding mob essence. A steel drum is a cauldron plus pressure plates. Let me show you the recipe for this. So a steel drum, right, is 6 steel, 2 weighted pressure plates, and a cauldron. So that's going to be 7 iron ingots, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus 6, so 17 iron to hold 256 buckets. Now, if I instead convert that into steel and make a steel multi-block tank from Railcraft, this actually ends up being far more efficient because I don't remember the exact math, but in terms of liquid storage per iron bar, it's 3.5 to 4 times as efficient. It really depends on how big you make your Railcraft tank, but even at the smallest Railcraft tank, just like a 3x3x4, you're still more efficient than a steel tank drum, which is really good to know, because honestly, it's a lot more work to make the steel tank. And you know what? Honestly, I think they look cooler. Like, one of the reasons I love playing Minecraft is I love looking at a huge base that I've made, and as I walk around my base and I see these huge tanks full of liquid, I think to myself, I have this huge collection of liquid, and I love my liquids taking up lots of space because it makes me feel rich. It makes me feel like I need to build a room to hold the liquid. It gives me a purpose to the room. It's all around good. Here I've got 1,600 buckets of mob essence. So this is actually, like I said, something I learned from dw20, one of the guys who's playing on my server. He taught me this really cool trick. So you have these essence berries, which come from Tinker's Construct. Now, for those who don't know, essence berries are found while exploring the world. The essence berries are placed in front of a Mine Factory Reloaded harvester, which again is being powered by a single solar panel. And this harvester harvests the XP berries as they come out. The XP berries are fed into an autonomous activator, which is just set to right-click. Let me remove this block. The autonomous activator shoots the XP berry, or not really shoots, just uses the XP berry on top of a sewer. Now, using the XP berry turns it into an XP, which gets immediately sucked up by the sewer, and sewers turn XP into mob essence. Pretty cool, huh? And then that sewer underneath feeds down this pipe into this tank. And so all I've had is this like fully automated, very cool setup of converting berries into mob essence. And then I can use the mob essence in my auto spawner to spawn any mob that I want. So right now I have this spawning wither skeletons because, you know, I've got tons of mob essence. So I'll kind of hang out here. I think if we wait just a little while, we should see a little wither skeleton get spawned, and he should get completely munched up. Oh, unless, you know what? It's not, because I turned off the mob essence here. So let's turn that on. I've got these mob essence drums. There, and there are some wither skeletons, and they're just getting chewed up, which is awesome, because I'm trying to get a wither skeleton skull, and I've got some bones. So let's see if I've got it yet. Nope. But I do have some necrotic bones and plenty of regular bones, which I'll be able to turn into bone meal. Turns out bone meal is way more useful than I thought it was, even right now, because I've been working on pneumatic craft. Pneumatic craft requires a ton of plastics, and the easiest way to get the plastics is to just bone meal the plants. I'll show you guys a little bit of that later. I've set up a thermal expansion room. That's not terribly interesting. Underneath, I'm running off of mob essence and gas tiers, but it could be sugar. Have a huge surplus of sugar, and now lots of mob essence. So I've gotten rid of the long power conduits, and I basically set up power to be done in lots of different ways. And then this here is the old sewage setup that I had from before, except it's just 4 dedicated dynamos feeding my AE network, because you don't ever want your AE network going down. So since my last Let's Play, finally I've also started bees. So I decided that I want to run my bees off of oil and fuel, so I built this this tower here. I did that last night. On the top level is where the oil comes in. So I have a tesseract, so I just go out somewhere in the world, I find an oil deposit, I pump it into my tesseract, the tesseract goes into my steel tank. My steel tank, I have an elevator here, my steel tank feeds down this tube into the oil refinery. The oil refinery is actually being powered by a combustion engine with an aqueous accumulator feeding the combustion engine water, and it's actually running off of fuel to refine the oil into more fuel. So now here I've got 519 buckets of fuel. And then as soon as I have tons of fuel, I'll just start powering my buildcraft machines. I've got my gene pool running, but I'm trying to get some royal jelly. I've also got my centrifuge. Right now I'm just kind of running off of Stirling engines because I can. But more on that later. Oh, and then of course I lost that because I got distracted. So this is my pneumatic craft setup. So I promised that I would show you guys how to make some plastics. So let's say that you want to do, need to make some creeper plastics. I'll show you what that's like. So let's grab some bone meal. This is basically how pneumatic craft works. You find a plant that you need to cook, and you gather the seeds for it. So for one of the projects, so you actually hit Q to drop it on the ground. You don't plant pneumatic craft seeds, you actually toss them on the ground, and then they root themselves into the earth. Watch this. Boom! And then I just bone meal this until it grows, and then break it, and you'll get 2 seeds out. And then just so I always have a supply, I queue one back on the ground. But we can turn this one into a plastic. So over at my pneumatic craft, I've got a chest here which has an input and an output. The chest feeds into the top, into the pneumatic chamber interface, so it's going to insert the seed. The seed turns into plastic on the inside, which I then pull out on this side. Let me pull that out. As soon as I type plastic, out comes the plastic. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I've made a UV light box. This is because I'm trying to make some PCBs. PCB is a part that you need for all the advanced pneumatic craft machines. In order to make the pneumatic craft machines, first you need to make some empty PCBs. That's done inside your pressure chamber. You take the empty PCBs, I'll show you the whole end to end. You take an empty PCB and you throw it into your UV light box. And then the UV light box increases the chance of etch success. And you don't want to do this until the etch success reaches 100. So you're basically exposing the PCB to light. I've got 2 speed upgrades to make it go faster, but that's kind of optional. Once the chance reaches 100%, you bring it over to etching acid. Etching acid, by the way, is made, here I'll show you the recipe. Etching acid is made by combining these ingredients. You can see this is why I needed the creeper plant seeds. You combine all of these together in the pressure chamber. So you basically throw all of these into the pressure chamber at once, and then out comes the etching acid. So I've got this etching acid sitting here in the world. You throw your PCB directly into the etching acid. It takes 5 minutes to convert. 5 minutes, I had one of my, what was his name? Brown, or is it GamerX? I think it was Brown, reminded me that entities disappear after 5 minutes. So you actually need to jump in at the halfway mark and touch the entity and re-drop it, or else it's going to destroy itself. But you have to leave the PCB board in the etching acid for 5 minutes. We'll come back in 2.5. Let me show you what else I've been up to. I made a coke oven to basically increase the efficiency of my charcoal. The charcoal, all my coal is more efficient out of my coal, not charcoal, coal. All my coal that I ever mine is automatically exported using ME into my coke oven, and then there's a basic import bus to basically pull the cooked coal out. So here we have some coal cooking. When the coke coal is made, it'll pop out, no problem. And then I've got this fluiduct running along here to pull all the creosote oil out. And I'll eventually probably be able to use the creosote oil to power, reactant dynamos or whatever. It'll be pretty awesome. I use the coke coal to power my Stirling engines, which I've been using for processing bees, as well as for powering the centrifuge. I also use this for powering my air compressor for pneumatic craft. I built a little pressure gauge here. Pressure gauges are interesting. So pressure gauges emit redstone signal. You take the current pressure and multiply it by 2, and that's the current redstone signal strength. So you can see I'm at 3.5 right now, so it's outputting a redstone signal of 7. I attenuate that signal from 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I use a redstone repeater to strengthen the signal back up to 15, and then feed that into my air compressor. My air compressor is told to only generate on low redstone signal. That means as soon as there's a high redstone signal being fed in, the air compressor shuts itself off. So this is my auto shut off, because as soon as this reaches a pressure of 3.5, that 7 signal will actually make it all the way and shut off the air compressor. When I'm below that amount, I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So here you can see my air pressure has dropped. it's only emitting a signal of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The repeater no longer has a signal, so it doesn't pass the signal on, and boom, the air compressor turns itself on. And you'll watch as the air compressor reaches 3.5, it'll send a 7 signal instead of a 6. This repeater will turn on, shutting off the air compressor. Well, right now it's actually using a little bit of pressure, so you can't see that yet, but that's the setup that I had before. It took me a while because what happens is the air compressor turns off, but the last piece of coal coke that you put in still cooks to the very end, and that causes the air compressor to sometimes overshoot. I used to have it emit on 9, and that means it would stop at 4.5, but the remaining coal would cause the pressure to go over 5, and then the whole system would start exploding, and that was really brutal. Okay, let's go ahead and pick up this PCB board. You can see it's at 75% progress. That's great. We'll toss it back in, and if we come back in a little bit, that'll be done. Hey GamerX, how's it going? GamerX is one of our other Twitch streamer community members. He's joined the server. He's got a home on the server. We'll go ahead and show you that someday, probably not today. I need to be ready to wrap this up pretty soon. I'm trying to think what else I've been up to. Oh yeah, there's one more thing. I set up an Oreberry basement since I last watched. So I've got this underground access tunnel that I've made. This is where all my ME cables run, tucked away underground, right? Because you gotta keep those ugly cables out of view. You don't want that running around upstairs. So this runs again into a harvest room. So I'm just harvesting a ton of tin ore berries and copper ore berries, and I did find a single gold ore berry, which I'm super stoked about. And I've been assembling those manually, but hopefully we'll automate that a little bit later. And then finally, I've been doing bees. I have this love-hate relationship with bees where it's super time-consuming, but you know, there is a certain peace to it. So I've been trying to breed out some redstone bees. So I'm working on producing some noble lines, a diligent line. I'd really like to get an industrious bee going. I need to get some royal jelly and some pollen going. So just getting all the basics. For those who've never done bees before, the very basics is to combine any two bees into a common bee. Once you have your common bees, there's basically the royal line and the hard working line, and you want to kind of establish that, and that forms the basis. That's the foundation of any good bee setup. My current goal is to get some bees that can produce redstone. I'll show you guys how to look that up. So if you look at making redstone, you can see that one of the things that can happen is you can get redstone by centrifuging energetic combs. So you click the energetic comb and you say, oh, I come from excited and energetic bees. Oh, how do I get excited bees? Oh, you crossbreed cultivated and valiant bees. Valiant bees I just have, they're out in the wild. Cultivated bees I'm actually in the process of growing, and I have a couple. Where am I? There's a cultivated bee. So if I crossbreed a cultivated with a valiant, then I'll have a chance of getting an excited bee. The excited bee produces combs that centrifuge into redstone. Pretty nice. And the centrifuge is just this very easy to make machine. It's very easy to make. You throw some combs in there and out comes products depending on what bee you had. Let's go ahead. This PCB board is finished. Remember I said it took 5 minutes? Well, we tossed it in and out it comes, and now I've got 3 unassembled PCBs. And over here, just like I promised, we can revisit this again. I hit 3.5, this triggered, it turned this on, and now this isn't running anymore. The rest of the coal coke did have to burn off, which is why the pressure is actually at 4, but you know, that's what you expect because it doesn't shut off right away. Anyway, that's what I've been up to. Thanks for watching. That's the end of this Let's Play. I'll try to publish this a little bit more often because obviously there was a lot to cover, a lot of review, not a lot of new stuff. But, you know, at least it's content density high. I'll see you guys all later. Happy Minecrafting!